The TUF series from Asus has not been among my favorites in the last couple of years. There has been so many reasons that I dislike the previous models that I reviewed on the channel. Let's see if Asus can change my mind with this TUF A17 this time around. Hey guys, welcome back to the How SS channel. My name is Ivan and today we're looking at the Asus TUF A17. This is a 17-inch gaming laptop that just came this year and features Ryzen 7 6800H. So this is 8-core, 16-threaded processor, very good for gaming, very good all around for production in day-to-day use. Also features RTX 3060 with 140 watt TGP. So we'll see how this one compares to the one in the Acer Helios 300 I just reviewed a couple weeks ago, and of course we're going to pair it against the RTX 3070 on the Lenovo Legion 5i Pro from last year, my favorite. Again, all that gaming performance and temperatures we're going to look at the next video, but for now we're going to go into the unboxing. We'll see what's inside this box, we'll see how everything looks, we're going to review the ports and their placement. Of course, as always, I'm going to open the back side of it, we're going to review the internals and see how they redesigned this latest generation with the new cooling solution, with the upgradability. What can we install, what can we remove, is it easy to be done? And of course we're going to talk about the keyboard layout and the rest of the details if you're picking up this laptop. Spoiler alert, just to say right away, I think at $850 this was the best price performance laptop you can get this year. Much better than the $999 for the Helios and much better than some other ones. I think at $850, considering the components here, you got a great deal. But if it's worth to you, you're gonna make that decision. So let's go ahead right into the unboxing. At the end, we're gonna talk about it in the conclusion. Now, the last time I looked at Asus TUF gaming laptop, that was over a year ago when I looked at the TUF A15, and that was an absolute disappointment. One of the worst gaming laptops I've ever reviewed. I absolutely hated it. I know a lot of people bought it. They spent $1,000 for a laptop that was severely underpowered by the CPU. So I was a little reluctant of getting this one. I quickly look at the specs, and at $850, I think this one is absolute killer. The box, I have to say right away, they redesigned their boxes. It seems very sturdy. It's very nicely designed, more kind of industrial looking, but this is what the TUF kind of represents. You know, obviously we have some graphics here on the back with the laptop, how it looks, how the thermal vents and all that stuff is situated. So a really good job with the way they've designed it. And if I go ahead and open it right away, flipped up, well-designed box that I've seen on other Asus laptops. And right on top, they have nested right here the little sheet with the TUF stickers. Right on top, we have the laptop packaged well, some user quick start guide. We have the warranty card, and we have some more information about the Asus right here. We have two little flaps to the side. On one side, we have the power brick, which, to be honest, I was a little concerned and surprised to see because it's only 240 watts. And it's so compact, much smaller than any other ones I've seen lately. Oh, you can actually see the 240 watts right here written. It says Asus on it. The cable is routed sideways, which is great, always not going straight up because you cannot pack it and travel. We have hook and loop strap on the cable. Charging is kind of a standard barrel style charger, not too thin, not too big. And if I open the other flap on the opposite side, here is the power cable, computer style power cable that you can replace yourself with longer or shorter depending what you want to do, or buy a different standard for outside of the United States, different countries and different continents. And that's pretty much it, nothing else in the box. First thing and foremost, the top is metal, very nice and cold. We have a logo for the TUF, not lit up, which I prefer. Excellent. It's not completely screaming in your face, I'm a gaming laptop. On the right side, starting from the back, we have Kensington lock, we have exhaust vent, and we have a USB 3. This is USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port and nothing else. If we flip it on the left side, this is where majority of the ports are. We have another vent point right here. Here's a power port. We have RJ45 orientated the correct way with the clip on the top side, so you don't have to lift the laptop to disconnect the LAN cable. We have HDMI 2.0B, two USB-C ports. They're both USB-C 3.2 Gen 1 Type-C ports with DisplayPort 1.2 and G-Sync output. And we have another full-size USB-C 3.2 Gen 1 Type-A port plus the combo 3.5mm headphone jack. So all the ports are located to the sides of the laptop, nothing in the back outside of the two vents on left and the right side. I prefer majority of the cables, power, HDMI to be placed in the back because I don't want it to be on my way. And one of the most annoying thing is when you have the power cable and you plug it where it is right here and route it to the back, this cable kind of blocks the vent on this side. I know it's just a cable that it's kind of thin, but at the same time that hot air is going to be blowing on the cable. I'm not comfortable with this. It's kind of bulky sitting on this side. I'm glad at least they put it on the left and not on the right side, but still, ideally, I would love all these ports to be on the back. Now, if we flip it on the other side, let's see what they improved here. In the past, Asus had tons of problems with their ventilation. Now we have tons of perforation over the two fans, both on the left and the right side. You can kind of peek and see the copper heat pipes. As always, we're going to open and see what's inside. More ventilation and perforations here where the rest of the components are. Really like this touch, this rubber triangle foot, both speakers on the left and the right side facing down. Interesting, the front rubber legs are L-shaped, providing a little bit more grip, which I like. And on the back side, same L-shape, they're even larger. This is one of the best parts of having 17-inch gaming laptop, as you have a lot more surface. Surface dissipates heat, and the cooling solution, if it's designed well, with combination with more surface, will provide better cooling while scaling down the noise. And Asus are advertising 48 decibels only on the maximum RPMs on those fans they have. Also, they're advertising 84 blades fans, so we'll see how these perform. Opening with one hand is not quite possible. Lifts up the bottom. We have another recycled fabric on top of the keyboard, but once we open it, I can tell you a few things right away that I'm very excited about. And first and foremost is the camera. Thank you, Asus, for bringing back the camera. They are omitting the camera from a lot of laptops on their line, and some more expensive ones, and I don't understand why, but this stuff has it. Very thin and narrow frames around the 17-inch 1080p screen. So if we talk about the screen is only 62.5% sRGB and 47-34% Adobe RGB. Refresh rate is 144 Hz with FreeSync and Adaptive Sync, but no G-Sync on board, unfortunately. And for the price of normally $1,300, I would have expected to have a G-Sync screen. The best news here is we have RTX 3060 on board. That is 140 watts. Here, instead of the Intel processors, we have Ryzen 7 latest 6800H, which is 8-core, 16-thread processor. Full-size keyboard, excellent to see, especially on the 17-inch mark. They better utilize all the space. We have 4 dedicated buttons on the top for the volume, mute button, and a button to launch the Armory crate, which is a software to control the RGB and all the other stuff. Dedicated power button, again, excellent to see, and some more vent points here. Large, actually very large touchpad, and the surface on top of that, it's kind of a textured plastic. It's something I haven't seen. I actually prefer this compared to some of that rubberized that I've seen on my Lenovo Legion 5i Pro and some other laptops. This is more of a textured, and you can't really see too much of your fingerprints. A little sticker on the side here, Ryzen 7 sticker, right? And on the other side, we have the 84 blade arc flow fans with four fan outputs. We have the mux switch, again, advertised everywhere. And thank you, Asus, for coming to your senses and providing a mux switch on the TUF series, because this is one of the biggest issues I had with the previous model that I reviewed. Not being able to disconnect the integrated graphics is just a big no-no when you have a gaming laptop. We have DDR5 on board, clocked at 4800 megahertz. Excellent to see, again, it's not DDR4. Military grade, okay, whatever. Aura RGB backlit keyboard, which is excellent, and two-way all noise canceling microphones. On the bottom we have Wi-Fi 6, Dolby Atmos, high-res audio, and RTX. So nice, tastefully placed sticker on the left side, which I've been preaching for all the other companies, because if I have my hand over here playing, I don't want my hand rubbing against these stickers. This side you will barely ever touch. One of the negatives, of course, here is the different color W, S, A, and D, which again screams I'm a gamer. I'm not a huge fan of, but it is what it is. I'm gonna flip it around. We're gonna open it and see what we can install and what we can upgrade. As always, see what the internals look like. So we have 12 Phillips size screws at the bottom. They're all the same size, so I'll be using the same tool to just go ahead and start opening these. So after removing all the screws, keep in mind One is capped. That's the one that sits in the front here in the corner. It lifts up the lid a little bit to help you pry around, which is not very easy to remove. Again, another laptop that I had to use at least 5-6 minutes with my prying tool, which is this plastic card to be able to lift and remove. And the other thing to mention is these screws, they're not all the same height, so you better be prepared to place them in the correct order so you can then flip them back and put them back on the space. So let me take this cover off and we'll look at on the bottom side. First and foremost, we're gonna see how many perforations we have on the back for the fans, for the rest of the components. But one thing really strikes me as an odd. One of the grills for the speakers has a little mesh on top of it, and the other one for the speakers is blocked off. It's just a black sticker right on top of it, and it leaves you only the space off to the side for the sound to escape. Weird, interesting decision they made with this one. I don't know why, what's the reasoning behind. As you can see here, we don't have that same perforation to the side, only on this side. That's what they decided to do. Now let's look at the rest of the components right here. Right away, you're gonna see the shiny, thick copper heat pipes. We have 1, we have 2, 3, 4, and 5. Large surface, they're bigger, they're longer. We have copper radiators here in the back where the exhaust is, the 2 large fans right here, and we have direct contact over the GPU and the CPU. I'm not sure why they use this sticker to cover the components. Interesting choice, but you have to be very careful not to rip it off. And of course, I ripped it off. You can see here they have extra metal foil on top of the Nvme drive. Why this design, Asus? I don't understand. This is creating problems. If I want to replace it, I have to rip the sticker off. This is not right. Now, if I take it on the other side, you're prone to ripping off the cable that it sits right here and connecting this daughter board just because they use this super adhesive sticker. What a mess. I don't know why. But yeah, let me look at the memory real quick. Again, we have placed metal foil on top of the memory on both sides, I guess for better heat dissipation, but we can't really see the chips this way. I'm assuming it's Samsung. We're gonna see in Windows, but just an odd solution. They should have just done the regular metal shielding that everybody else is doing. At least now we have 2 that are upgradable. If we don't like the 16 gigabytes included, we can add 2x16 and have them expanded to 32. We have another slot for Nvme, which is expandable, and I'm gonna go ahead and install extra storage. They're including the screw for the extra storage, which is excellent to see. You're not gonna have problem with installing large dual-sided memory. Nvme storage is like 2 terabytes or more because there's nothing underneath, there's nothing to interfere. Not a good design on this part. I'm not happy with what they've done here with this cover. It just makes no sense to me. The other thing that I don't see anywhere is the Wi-Fi card, but if I reveal this again, super annoying sticker, and try to get the camera closer or just lift up the computer so you can see it, you will notice the cables for the Wi-Fi right here, which means the Wi-Fi card is placed underneath the Nvme drive. I'm not a huge fan of this placement because in order for you to upgrade it, you're gonna have to rip this whole plastic off. Be careful not to rip everything for the Nvme drive, which I already did. Then you have to remove the Nvme drive, remove that another additional sticker, which is in the anti-interference shielding, and then replace it with something better because this is not Intel, this is MediaTek, I believe, as a Wi-Fi card. So that's a huge hassle to just replace a Wi-Fi card on a 17-inch laptop, which is huge space. Why are we placing it there? It's a mystery for me. Once again, Asus, you guys are doing some things great, but this placement and this whole situation here, I'm not a fan of. Okay, on the bottom we have a 90 watt hour battery, advertising 12 hours of use time. Obviously not gaming, just browsing and checking some media. I'm not testing battery life on gaming laptops because for me personally it makes no sense. If I want to play games, I want the maximum possible performance, and I'll be plugged into the wall everywhere I go so I can play. But for those of you that are using it for other things, not just gaming, keep that in mind. I'm expecting probably around 8 to 10 hours normal usage time with the integrated GPU. So if that's something you really are interested in. I'm sure this laptop has an amazing battery life when it comes to that. Repasting in the future is fairly easy. The heat pipes and the cooling solution is in the correct way. It's not on the other side like Dell or Alienware. And here you'll be able to easily access and do all that stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, close it back up, and I'm gonna go into turning it on. Of course, at the end, we're gonna talk about it in conclusion. Now with everything assembled back and turning it back on, you can see we have a single zone RGB keyboard. It kind of cycles through when the laptop is booting up. Normal Windows 11 installation, I went through about 5 minutes and I'm inside. We're gonna immediately look at some things that I wanted to show you. After disabling the internal GPU, I'm able to record the screen. And after pulling the Nvidia control panel, you will see we have the RTX 3060. The resolution is 1080p at 144 Hertz. No G-Sync, unfortunately, but it is what it is. The brightness of this screen is about 250, between 250 and 300 nits, so it's not that bad when you're playing inside the house. This will be perfectly fine. With no problem whatsoever. And now I just wanted to look at some of the other components and see what we have on board. If we go to the task manager, we're gonna see our processor, Ryzen 7 6800H, 8 core, 16 threads with 20 megabytes of cache. We have the memory, 16 gigabytes running on dual channel on 4800 megahertz. We have the disk, which is Intel. So the Nvme included is 512 gigabytes Intel Nvme drive. We'll see the speeds. The Wi-Fi, as I was expecting, it's MediaTek Wi-Fi 6. It's not Intel, and upgrading it, it's going to be a bit of a hassle. That's the RTX 3060, and of course the built-in Radeon graphics cards. Now let's look at the bloatware, what we have here on board. So we have C Media audio. That's not really a big problem right here. We have McAfee, which it has to go immediately. Let me go through the add remove programs and see what else we have. AI noise cancellation software. This is for the Asus's AI software. That's fine. Armory crate is fine. Asus, bunch of things from Asus firmware service, hot plug, all that stuff. We're gonna have to leave because it's part of the Aura and wallpapers and all that stuff. C Media I mentioned already, that's fine. I installed the CPU-Z, the hardware monitor. Disney Plus we don't definitely need, and we're gonna remove that immediately. Adobe Access, that's gonna stay. McAfee Life Safe, you need to go immediately. And you'll see these letters popping in the middle. This is from the Armory crate, automatically switching between default and performance, which you can disable if that annoys you. We have Microsoft Office, this is gonna go as well. I'm not planning to use it. Microsoft OneNote, again, this is going. My Asus, that's fine. Office, this is gonna go. Web Advisor from McAfee, this is going to go as well. So not too many bloatware programs over here. McAfee and a few other ones you can go ahead and remove right away to give you a little bit more space. So not too many problems, but I have to say I'm really appreciating the real estate of 17-inch screens. Maybe because of my age, I'm getting older. I need something bigger to see. And playing on a bigger screen is much more comfortable. In this kind of a browsing state or default state, the fans are not on, you cannot hear them. Where I have other laptops, they're running their fans even at idle, and this one is not. So you'll notice interesting 4 light indicator right here. Asus has created something very unique, at least I haven't seen that before. We have a light for activity of the hard drive, which in this case is not a hard drive, but your internal storage drive. Indicator for on, indicator for charging, which is going to turn white when the battery is completely charged, an indicator for airport mode where you can turn off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. And if I place my hand over here on this section, I can feel it warm. It's not super hot to the touch, but down here it's completely cold. Here where the keyboard is very, very lukewarm, not even hot at all. Now if you look at the keyboard, some of the things here, of course, full numeric pad to the side, absolutely love that. If we press the dedicated button for Armory crate is going to open, and right away here you can see a lot of data here, the temperature of the CPU, the temperature of the GPU, the fans, and currently you'll see they just kicked in. I cannot even hear them, they're super low. Interesting, they're showing you the decibels. I'm not sure how they're measuring this. Is it based on the algorithm between the RPMs? Or they actually have something to measure the decibels inside? I seriously doubt it. 24 decibels, you cannot hear it at all. You can select the different modes of the GPU, ultimate, standard, eco mode, and optimized. And there's a lot of information here on the Armory crate. I'm not gonna go to a full review, but you'll see some things are repetitive here with the different options. Maximum performance, maximum power usage. Standard is balance between performance and battery life. Eco mode is maximum battery life, and optimized automatically switches between standard and eco mode, but I want the ultimate because that's how we roll. Lighting, here we have the aura to select our different lightings. We have cycle color, strobing, breeding, static color as well. Static is my favorite, but I left this cycling color so you guys can see what kind of colors we're talking about. And on audio, we have some more selection here on the audio. The two-way AI noise cancellation can be enabled and disabled and adjust. And the resource monitor is going to show us the graph with all the resources and how they behave. Aura's wallpaper, we can select different wallpapers and apply them. I know the Armory crate has a lot of information, but you don't have to use that all the time. You see the default mode. These are the on-screen disable and enable these big letters that I was showing you. If you disable and enable it, it will show you automatically switching between the default mode. And we have different modes for different games here. They're going to be cycled and showed. FPS, cinema, eye care, vivid, all that stuff. This is all great and part of the Armory crate. Now if I open the file manager, we have about 385 gigabytes free out of 453 gigabytes. This is the test on the internal drive after running it. Not the best speeds here. As you can see, this is not PCI Express 4 speeds. This is more of a PCI Express 3 and not the best PCI Express 3 speeds. They're not slow. They're not the slowest I've seen, but they could be better. Of course, if you're paying full price at $1,300 for this computer, you would expect at least 3,500 read speeds over here where we have only 2,600. But this is what they chose. This is the Intel 512 gigabyte included storage inside. I have to say, for $850, this is probably the best buy that you could have done. I truly believe that it's a better purchase than the Acer Helios 300 as well. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll talk about it in the conclusion. All right, conclusion time. And what do I think about the Asus TUF A17? This specific version that was sold by Walmart at $150 around Black Friday. I'm pretty impressed, I have to say right off the bat. And I'm amazed that for that price, you're getting a lot of laptop compared to the last year's TUF 15 I reviewed. That at the time, for $1,000, you get underperforming CPU and bottlenecking GPU. Now, obviously, Asus learned their lesson and they're advertising mux switch all over the place on their website. They're advertising it on the laptop itself with stickers. They're really emphasizing, guys, we have mux switch finally, so you can disable the iGPU and get the maximum performance. And yeah, thank you for including this. It was a long wait. Finally now benefit from the maximum performance of the 140 watt GPU. The rest of the laptop, I have to say, the build quality is exceptional. We have metal on the lid. We have very good ABS plastic. The surface is kind of textured plastic, but it's very good. The only negative here I have to say about the design is the placement of the ports. They're always doing this. They're doing even some of their higher level ROG laptops. Everything else on the side. I am not a huge fan of that. I want those bulky cables like the LAN, HDMI, DVI ports to be on the back side where I don't see them. And when I put them on my desk, they're channeled in the back and everything else looks clean. And now with the power cable to the side, it's not the cleanest. It's right where the vent point is. LAN if I plug in and HDMI on the left side. It's going to be a big bundle of cables on this side, so I'm not a fan of this. Keyboard is very nice. RGB, it's not per key. But for the price, I'm pretty pleased. Dedicated power button is great. Dedicated volume buttons, mute button, and Armory crate button is also awesome. Having these separated, it's my preferred choice, but not a lot of makers do that anymore. Massive touchpad, it's huge. I know if you're a gamer, you're not gonna be using it. You're gonna be using a mouse. I think the 17-inch screen is excellent for playing. Gives you a little bit more real estate, gives you a little bit more detail to see. It's 1080p, it's 144 Hertz. Unfortunately not G-Sync, only FreeSync and Adaptive Sync, which is fine on the long run, especially if you're using it only for gaming or predominantly for gaming and not production. You don't need that massive color accuracy, you don't need all that stuff. You're going to be good to go. I think for gaming it's absolutely fine. Between the 250 and 300 nits brightness, it's also fine indoors. But once again, keep in mind, for $850, if you pay that much money, I think all that can be forgotten. all that can be forgiven. But if you're paying the suggested MSRP at $1,250 or $1,300, I think there's much better choices. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video, stay tuned to the channel, subscribe if you're new, check out the links in the description if you want to support the channel directly. In the next couple of videos, we're going to look at the gaming performance, how this one stacks against the Acer Helios 300 recently reviewed, and of course pair it against the last year's Lenovo Legion 5i Pro. And as always guys, you have a wonderful day.